Good. All right. It says we're live. There's always this weird 6 seconds. I don't know. One of these days I'll figure it out. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows. I'm very excited about today's video. Some things fell into place from like a year ago, and I'm excited. I'm excited to share them with you. Um, Actually, almost no. It would have been over a year ago because I first heard what I'm about to tell you uh, back in February, January, March, April. It would have been like late May of 2020 is when I first heard this, and I now finally kind of get it. So, for those of you who are new to the community, don't remember, or just don't care enough, I do comedy. I do a lot of different kinds of comedy, stand-up comedy, sketch comedy. I did a lot of improv. That was like my main comedic artistic focus for 2020 was doing improv. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about improv and why I think it's so important. As a side note, um, if you ever have the chance to take an improv class, I cannot recommend it enough. I'll leave a link in the description below of one of my favorite improv teachers. His name is Rich Baker. He is a brilliant, brilliant improv teacher. And he teaches classes online all the time. And he's just terrific. He's just a terrific human being. And the classes are very affordable. Um, so I'll leave a link to him in the description below. If you've never taken an improv class, I beg you, just take an improv class. It's the greatest thing you'll ever do, especially if you're not an actor, because it is often said that one of the core tenets of improv is the concept of yes and. I I get it. I don't fully agree. Um, because I think that it's too easy to think you're doing yes and without actually doing yes and. Here is what I mean. I've seen so many improvisers yes and themselves. So the idea is like, a fake scenario is if you're like, uh, here's that pen you wanted, Caitlin. Character playing Caitlin is not supposed to go, what pen? That's a fish. And you're like, well, you just fucking, I was giving you, we're doing a thing. Why would you undercut the move that I just made because you wanted it to be a fish, right? So that's what yes and is trying to get people not to do. But what oftentimes happens is you'll end up yes anding yourself, and you'll get into a situation where it's like, here's that pen you wanted, Caitlin, and then it's really easy for Caitlin to then go, yes, you did give me a pen, or yes, thank you for that pen, and I'm off to a meeting. No. That's too many things. Your scene partner can't respond to all of those things. All you have to do is just say, thank you for the pen. Like the yes is acknowledging that it's a pen, and you're adding on to that by adding an emotion to it. That's getting complicated. It's not the point. The point is, in improv, it is critical, and also in all of life, because every second of every day, unless you are on stage performing, you are improvising. Like, unless you are reading text that another human has written, or robot, I guess, you are improvising. Every second of every day. You just are, because that's how all of life works. So there is a concept that I think is much more useful in improv and in life. And that concept is, what a gift. Here is why I like what a gift. Because in the situation of Raja and Caitlin trying to do a scene, I, Raja, give Caitlin a fake imaginary pen, right? Before Caitlin has any response, it is incredibly useful to the scene for her, Caitlin the human, to be like, oh my God, thank God my scene partner made the brilliant move of choosing to give me a pen. I can do anything I want with this because of what this other person did. What a gift. I would have never in a million years thought to give me a pen, but now that that person did, holy shit, now we're off to the fucking races. Okay. Now, what the character Caitlin does in response to that, she can do a million things. She can do whatever she wants, right? She can go, that is the sweetest thing that anyone has ever done for me, right? That is a response. That is a perfectly valid response. Another perfectly valid response is, took you long enough, right? It's negative. It, like, that feels like a no, but no, it isn't really. She's acknowledging the other person gave her a pen. She is having an emotional response about it. She is acknowledging the reality of what is in front of her, that she was just given a pen. Okay. But Caitlin the human, not Caitlin in the scene character, Caitlin the human, what she can't do is she can't go, fuck, I have no idea what to do with a goddamn pen. I got nothing. I wish he had done anything else. I wish he had given me a fish. I wish he had given me a box of Kleenex. I wish he would have just done fucking nothing, anything, but give me a goddamn pen, because I don't know what to fucking do with that. Right? That is the habit that I think all of us, myself included, would do very well to be aware of and begin to break. And to start instead with, internally, before anything, going, what a gift. Not in a sarcastic way, but in a genuine, earnest, oh my God, that is brilliant. That is so useful to me right now. And sort of making those neural connections of healthy positivity. Now, this does not mean you have to like everything that happens. Like, you do not have to like the result. But you have, the more you can train your brain, hey, Sadet, the more you can train your brain to want what is, now you're fucking unstoppable. Now you are actually unstoppable. If you want what is, you can do anything. I'll give you a 100% real example. So, right, so the thesis of this video is, what a gift. So in the original version of the thumbnail, I was holding a box. I was holding a box, like a present. And then I started the video and it was really clunky, so I had to redo the video. Because the intro was weird and I was off, I was drinking wild. It was not how you want to start a video. So I stopped. And rather than investing any mental, emotional, physical, spiritual energy in the fact that I had to redo it, I was like, oh, how can I make this thumbnail better? Oh, here's a little bag. Oh, I like that. This is a little more gift looking. That would have never happened. If I had started the video like I thought I was supposed to, I never would have gotten the better thumbnail. I just wouldn't have. That is the mindset that you want to begin to cultivate. Now, for those of you who have been in the class a while and who have been around the block, you should be going, isn't this just what Jocko is saying? I feel like Jocko has like already covered this topic in depth, dude. Fair point. Here's where I energetically disagree with Jocko. Because his whole thing is like, anything bad that happens, say that it's good. Make it good. Force the good. And force your brain to see everything as good. Oh, you didn't get that promotion? Good. That gives me the opportunity to level up my skills. Here's the problem. Energetically, it's just way off. Literally, sure, very, very helpful. But that confrontational energy does not serve us as often as I think we're told it does or should. Because inherent in that is a very fuck you attitude about that, which is not always the most useful attitude for a given situation. However, gratitude first, I cannot think of any situation, life or death, doesn't fucking matter, in which having more gratitude in the moment will not help you at least somewhat. I can't think of any scenario. And so, and really what I want to push back against, or what I at least want to put up a boundary against, is this idea that progress and improvement must be first and foremost confrontational. I just don't believe that. There are times when confrontation and competition and fuck you-ness may serve the situation, 100%. There are times when that does not. And our job as alphas, as people who want to become the best and highest versions of ourselves, it is incumbent upon all of us to look at the situation and determine what the needs of the situation are. So to get back to this idea of what a gift, when we're talking about receiving gifts, so the teacher that I had, his name is Dave Cole, a different improv teacher, but also great. And he has a philosophy where it's like, I don't give gifts on stage. So a gift is like, oh, I'm going to set somebody up because I know what they'll be able to riff on, right? And what he says, and I very much agree with it, is like, that's a really, really risky play, especially if you don't know the person that well. Like, that's, you're taking shots in the dark. And even if it is somebody you know well, they might not be feeling it. They might not see the scene the same way you do. So you setting them up in a certain way might inadvertently pigeonhole them, might put them into a position they don't want to be in, right? But what he says is, I don't give gifts, I take gifts. Whatever the other person says to me, I am grateful for the fact that they said it, and I look at everything they say as a gift, as a blessing, as a springboard to move the scene forward in a way that it wouldn't move forward if they hadn't just said that. And to make every moment truly magical. That's a hell of a way to live. Now, doing that in real life, not always possible, not always practical, not always appropriate. But as a thought experiment, as an exercise, as a muscle building activity, I really like it. And the fact of the matter is, you will you will, once you start to build that mental muscle of things being gifts, seeing the world around you as fundamentally blessed and magical and abundant and beautiful, your brain will just start to see the world in that way, right? It's all the myelin and the neural wiring, man. It's freaking real. It's super, super real. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So, and here's the thing, where I think a lot of people balk at this and where they sort of ditch it is like people think that it gets into this realm of like toxic positivity, and that's not what we're talking about at all. Not even a little bit. First off, I think that toxic positivity is wildly overblown, but more importantly, this ain't it. If we are going to talk about toxic positivity or positivity in a way that is unhelpful, that's more of like, oh, this isn't as bad as you think it is. Look on the bright side of the situation. That's where it can get into like, no, I'm trying to process reality. Give me the opportunity and space to process that reality, because there's a lot to process. That to me is sort of, that's the only thing I would ever consider really toxic positivity. But what this is being grateful for the world exactly as it is, and simply deciding that the world is abundant, and that the world around us is abundant, and that everything that happens to us can be used by us in a positive, constructive, benevolent way. That's what it's all about. And again, I'm not saying that if your house burns down, that's a good thing. That's ridiculous. That is irresponsible. That is emotionally insensitive. But what I am saying is that if you can hold alongside that grief that you are feeling, if you can hold alongside that the supplementary emotion of, oh man, I have so much to be grateful for that wasn't lost in the fire. Those two can and do hang together all the time. I've talked about this a lot, and I will say this until the day I die. That refrigerator over there saved my life. Saved my life. I would not have survived if it were not for that refrigerator. And also for the dishwasher and oven that you can't see because it's in the kitchen. Like, I didn't know to be grateful for I knew to be grateful for dishwashers because I lived many years without a dishwasher, but I didn't know to be grateful for a refrigerator. Like, that's not, what? It's a refrigerator. No, motherfucker, grateful for a goddamn refrigerator. And that was, as weird as it sounds, like during the pandemic when things were really crazy and there were no rules and Trump was president, it was a whole like chaotic shit mess. It was really, really helpful to be able to go, okay, I have a refrigerator. Holy shit. I have a refrigerator. Like, it's just there. Like, the refrigerator is just there. It's chilling. It's doing its thing. Chilling. Point is, being able to look at that and go, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And to find those things in any situation to be grateful for. Even a bad circumstance, a bad interaction. I talked about playing the Red Dead online. And I was like, I love walking through the world. I love walking through the world. That is true. And I recently gave it up because loving walking through the world was not, the game is just too harsh. Like, it's not, and again, this is a total tangent. One of my biggest criticisms of Rockstar games is the fact that they are too realistic. I don't like that. I am perfectly comfortable and competent and capable to just exist in the real world as it is. Like, I don't need that level of real world physics and logistical getting from place to place difficulties in a game, because if I wanted that experience, I would just live in real life, right? So, but all that being said, I was galloping along and whatever, and then I fell off my horse, and the horse like fell into a ditch or something. It didn't stop for some reason, and then the horse died. And it was like, you need a horse reviver. Well, I was really far away from town, and I couldn't make a camp because I didn't have this. And I was like, I don't know. I just want to play the game. And as frustrated as I was, it was a really, really helpful thing to have happen, because I was able to go, oh, right, I now have a better understanding of what I want from games, so that the next time a game like this comes along, I can look at these hallmarks and I can go, okay, how easy is it to get from place to place? How easy is it to complete quests? And there were a lot of quests that I just like couldn't complete because they weren't even that difficult of quests, but just the play control is clunky and you're supposed to dial. That's why I don't play Dark Souls, because I'm like, I don't want to play a game that the point that you're just like, oh, I'm just going to die an indeterminate number of times with nothing to show for it. In contrast, a game like Hades, which is fucking amazing. I love Hades. Because in Hades, I was like, okay, I die a bunch, but the muscle like your character gets better. Like, it doesn't totally reset. And there's stuff to do in the lobby before you go back out. Oh, okay, yes, I can live in this world. I want to do this, right? And so I dropped it. I uninstalled the game, and I haven't picked it up since. But it wasn't bad. It felt like a gift. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that this game is exactly what it is, because now I can know what my ratio is. I can know what I need in a gaming experience. And so I strongly encourage you to, again, and to go back to the me versus Jocko, I'm not saying that what happened in that game, the fact that it's difficult to get around and it's just a logistical nightmare, and it's got a fairly predatory pay-to-play system that I don't really like. It's not really that free-to-play, all things considered. That's not good. I'm not calling it good, because I also don't want to be able to look at something and be like, well, it could be worse. No, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to see it for what it is and be like, oh, this doesn't serve me. But you can immediately go from this doesn't serve me to, oh, thank goodness I was offered it, because now I can move on. And now I can do something different with my life, with my time, with my free time, with my whatever it is, my resources, my energy. So the way I think to start to do this is not by starting with what's difficult. Don't take something that you don't like and go, what a gift, because it's too easy to get sarcastic with it. It's just, I don't know. Especially if you're in America, we do not do sincerity that well. Unless it's a Marvel movie, sincerity is not really in the pop culture zeitgeist. We're a very, very ironic culture these days. So don't start with that, because you're setting yourself up for a much harder task than you need it to be. Start with things that are neutral, things that are not obviously good or obviously bad, but things that you kind of take for granted, right? For instance, I'm just looking around. So like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going back to the refrigerator example because it works, right? We don't really think of refrigerators as being good. That's just a fixture. Based on my understanding of how people access the internet, again, through the lens of, if you are able to watch this, you have a certain level of privilege, right? That's the baseline, right? But like, generally speaking, if you have access to the internet, you also have access to refrigerators. I think it's like 94% of Americans have a refrigerator. It's a pretty good up there number. So like, but we think of that as like, yeah, food storage, grocery stores. Oh my God, I get giddy now whenever I get to go to the grocery store, because I'm like, oh my God, because again, over the course of the fucking pandemic, getting food, I mean, it wasn't like hunting, but it was a little tricky. And even then I was like, oh my God, I get to go acquire food. Holy shit, that's amazing. I just get to walk into a building, gather food, swipe a piece of plastic, and walk out. Are you fucking kidding me? That's insane. That is insane that I get to do that, right? So start with things that are sort of part of your everyday life that are just kind of neutral, right? The coffee that you drink this morning. Oh my God, what a gift it is to be able to drink coffee, to have the time to make coffee, to have the resources to make coffee, right? Because it's not like you're trying to take something bad and flip it around. You're just reinforcing the neural patterns of recognizing the good in everything. And as much as you can around you, recognizing the good in it. So that when something bad happens, you can do a couple of things theoretically with relatively little effort. You can go, oh, I don't like that. That does not serve me, right? So that's more of like the F. That's a very FI way to phrase it, but it does sort of live in the like values, good, bad, animal brain part, of the consciousness, right? So being able to recognize, this serves me, this does not, I like this, I don't like this, this serves me, this doesn't serve me, yes, no, good, right? So you have that, but then also marrying that with the T of, okay, and so now I can either move closer to it or further away from it, right? But in the middle of that, right, of good versus bad, closer versus further away, to be able to effectively bridge that gap, that's where gratitude is. That is where, what a gift. That is where that lies. Because you don't want to say that something that you think is bad is good. Because now you're going to start to make excuses for things that you don't want in your life And you're like, no, it's good. No, you can say that it's bad. That's perfectly fine. And you can move either towards things or away from it, whatever it is. But in the middle is where the gratitude happens. That's where the gift is. And sometimes you can be like, okay, I dislike this. This feels bad. What a gift that I feel this way. And then you can go, you know what, though? This actually is kind of good for me. And I do feel better after I go to the gym or eat broccoli, or, man, if I don't have that second scoop of ice cream before going to bed, I will feel better in the morning. So in this instance, let me move towards the discomfort, because I see the discomfort as a gift and something that I should move towards. Or conversely, if you're like, I don't like that, boy, am I glad this person reacted that way, so that I can then, and there's a very good friend of mine who I have spoken to less and less and less and less since leaving Facebook. And he is not a bad person. He is an incredibly deeply feeling, moral human being. But he's kind of toxic and kind of negative. And now that I can sort of frame his behavior in response to our interactions as a gift and be like, I am so glad that he keeps reacting in the same goddamn way to everything, so that I can know, you know what, he is not the person to go to when I'm looking for a pep talk. Cool. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. Doesn't mean I don't want him in my life. But he is not the person with whom to share enthusiasm. Cool. Great. What a gift it is to know that, so that I can behave accordingly. So to sum all of this up, we have the thing that happens, right? I guess the action and your response to it. And the best way I have found to cultivate mindfulness, to cultivate presence, to cultivate the want what is to use those 3 words of what a gift. And that will let you bridge that gap, so that however you respond to it, you know that with a reasonable degree of certainty that you're very likely responding to the thing itself, and you're not responding to, well, they probably meant this, so I'm going to respond as though they said this thing that I wanted them to say, and just fucking hope that it all works out. That is a losing combination. But by going, what a gift, that forces you to listen to what the other person said, to what your environment is telling you, to everything. It forces that listening muscle so that you can respond appropriately. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, I love you. I see you. Now let's do the damn thing.